If you've ever wondered why your husband gets so defensive when you're just trying to help, or when he shuts down the moment you suggest something that he might need to change, well, this video is going to completely shift the way in which you approach your relationship moving forward. What I'm about to share will actually probably surprise you. My name is Rajasekar, and I've been helping women for the last 10 years to be able to save their marriages, to be able to heal and to grow, and to really understand the depths of male psychology. And one of the things I always see regularly is women who are trying to improve or fix their husband. And so today I want to explain to you the male psychology component of this and why this approach always backfires and ultimately what works instead. Now, the first part of this video I want to talk about is what I call the fixing trap. Now, here's what typically happens. You see something that your husband needs to improve on. Maybe he's not communicating well. Maybe he's not helping around the house much. Maybe you just need him to open up a little bit. And so you try and help him to see it. And you might say something like, "Hun, look, you never listen to me properly." Or, "Look, I need you to do more of these things around the house." Or, "When are you going to spend more quality time with me?" And instead of him actually looking at this and seeing it as an opportunity for improvement, he gets defensive, he shuts down, he gets annoyed at you, and so on. Now, the question is why does this happen? Why is there always the same reaction so many times? Well, let me give you a little male psychology 101 here. See, to understand these patterns, you need to understand more about how the male mind works. Men are hardwired to be protectors and providers, to have purpose, to have a mission, to want to accomplish and to want to succeed. And ultimately, when there's a lot of criticism, it basically creates this feeling of inadequacy in a man, like he's failing on some level. You see, when a man feels like he's failing, especially as a husband, it creates what I call the competency shame. See, competency shame is that deep feeling of just feeling like you're not good enough, where you feel inadequate. And when a man feels like he's inadequate in his marriage, rather than actually wanting to improve on those things, those wounds actually fire off a whole heap of defensive behaviors. And ultimately it leads to fight, flight, or freeze. Either I'm going to shut down, or I'm going to remove myself from the situation, or I'm going to defend myself. I do so much of this stuff around the house. I go to work, I make all the money, I do all this, I do that. And it's never enough for you. You know, these sorts of reactions are so common. And it's important to recognize that they actually come from the wounds of inadequacy, like they're failing. And the challenge is if you're trying to go in and fix the situation with him, what actually happens is he hears things differently. So for example, if you were to say your communication needs to improve, what he's hearing is you're bad at communicating and you're failing me. If you were to say something like, "Look, I need you to be more romantic and I need you to just fill my love tank up a little bit more," or whatever variations of that, what he hears is you're a terrible husband who can't even make his wife happy. If you say, "Why can't you just do this?" what he hears is you're defective and you need to be repaired. And you can sort of see why he'd get defensive, because if those deep wounds are triggered, immediately his actions are going to come from that wounded place. Now, this is by no means a criticism for anyone who's maybe engaged in some of these behaviors, because I know also for you that you'll be coming from a wounded place, and I totally appreciate that. But what we need to do is understand more about how male psychology works, because when we get that, we can adapt our communication style in order to actually meet the needs of that person. They're going to respond better, and then ultimately that's going to be the best outcome for you. So what actually works? It's what I call the appreciation approach. Rather than focusing on what needs to improve and what needs to be fixed, focus on what you can actually be appreciative of. You know, it's really interesting when we talk about grief. You know, so many times I'll talk to clients, or even in my own case where I've lost loved ones, there have been situations where at the time you're so frustrated with them, you're so angry, or whatever it is, whether it's a human, an animal, whatever it is, we get so annoyed easily. However, when that person or animal passes away, what do you think about? You only think about the beautiful times, the great times, you know, those lovely moments that you shared together, and you have so much gratitude for those moments. Of course, we feel the loss, but we also can remember all the beautiful times. Put your energy into appreciation first. So what are the things that he actually does? What are the things that he does for your family? What are the things that he actually does for you, and so on? And the more that you can actually reinforce that, the more that it's actually going to lift him up. It's going to make him feel enough and significant. And when a man feels significant, he's going to want to do more for you. He's going to want to move mountains for you. So in terms of practical examples of this, rather than just pointing out moments where he doesn't do things like, you know, "You never help me with dinner," if he's actually done those things in the past, You can say to him, look, I love it when you cook me dinner, or I love those times when you help out. It makes me feel so special, or I love connecting with you while we're doing this, or those sorts of things. And it doesn't need to be dinner, it could be anything. But show appreciation for the times that he's actually done those things. And that will really help him to realize that, wow, she really appreciates those things. Now, some of you might be sitting there going, but he never does anything for me. Well, that's a bigger issue altogether. And you probably need to explore how things have been progressing over the years and go through some deeper healing around that. And I recommend you actually watch this video above to help you with working through those situations. But if you are dealing with a man who has genuinely helped out in the past with various things, when he does those things, really appreciate it. Don't just look past and be like, oh yeah, thanks. Really show some appreciation. You don't have to, do cartwheels or anything like that. But just looking him in the eye and saying, hun, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate when you do those things. That helps me so much. Or thanks so much for taking out the trash. Or thanks so much for helping out with the washing. Or thank you so much for all the things that you do by looking after this family and providing and protecting and all that stuff. Those are the sort of things that a lot of men want to hear. And if you can do those and you can actually say those on a regular basis, your man is going to want to do more for you because he knows that if he does those things, they're actually really appreciated. It's not just all of the negative stuff. It's not all of the criticism, because there are 3 ways to shut down a man. And that is through control, and that is through criticism, and that is through a heavy energy. If a man feels like he can't do some of the things that he wants to do because he's afraid of his wife on some level, then that's going to shut him down. If he constantly feels criticized all the time because things aren't done in a particular way and the way that you might want it and so on, then that's going to shut him down. And when there's always that heavy energy, like there's a doom and a gloom all the time, and he knows something's up, what often happens is men associate that with, oh, what have I done now? Why is she annoyed? Oh, she's pissed off at me, I can tell. And then that immediately shuts him down in those moments as well. So really focus on appreciation. The more you can focus on that, not just with him, but in life in general, the more happier that you'll be, but you'll actually get him to do more for you on that front. And the reason why all of this works is that men are so motivated by being successful rather than being broken. If a man feels like he's successful, he's going to want to do more. He's going to want to help more. He's going to want to serve more. He's going to want to make you feel special because he knows that if he does those things, that you light up like a Christmas tree. And that's really important to remember. He wants to feel like he's winning as a husband. But when he feels like he's constantly failing your tests, or that he's not living up to the standard that you expect of him and so on, he'll either fight back, shut down, or just completely give up. I've seen this pattern destroy so many marriages over the years. The woman genuinely wants to help, but unknowingly triggers that competency shame, which makes him pull away even further, which then makes her want to try harder to fix the situation, which then makes him pull away even more, and then the vicious cycle just continues. But equally, I've seen so many marriages shift when people start stepping more into that appreciation, when they start actually elevating the individual, and when they start to elevate and also do the inner healing within themselves, incredible things can happen, and it really takes it to a whole new level. So here's my challenge for you. Over the next week, I really want you to step in to the appreciation mode. The moment you sense that you're starting to move into criticism mode or point out the things that are wrong or that aren't being done well, just catch yourself. Just say stop in your mind, and then immediately shift to gratitude, appreciation, and start to put some energy into the things that you can actually be appreciative of. And it's okay if it just comes out of the blue. You can just go up to him, hold his hand, and say, hun, I know I don't say this enough, but I just love you so much. I really appreciate everything you do for us. Just little moments like that. That's the difference between a high quality marriage that is constantly putting energy into growing it versus a marriage that just rests on their laurels and just meanders along. And then out of nowhere, someone wants to separate and they're like, how did this happen? Where did this come from? It's the little things that we stack over time that make all the difference. So I want you to start applying that over the next week. And I'd love you to write in the comments below what you find when you start putting that into practice. Or if you've already tried it, let me know how you've got on. Let me know some of the challenges that you've faced. Relationships don't have to be complex. There are actually a lot of simple activities that are applied over a regular basis. However, we have to go deep as well into our own transformation and our own healing. And when you do that and you combine it with some of this external action, amazing things can happen. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, make sure you hit that like button below. If you want to get more videos like this, hit that subscribe button so you get notified for it as well. Or if you do have any comments or questions, just make sure you write them below as well. And if you want to go a little bit deeper into understanding the feminine traits that men find wildly attractive, just click this video below. Thank you so much. God bless. And just remember, your husband doesn't necessarily need fixing right now. What he needs right now is that feeling that he's winning at loving you. Thank you so much. God bless. And I'll talk to you in the next video.